Welcome into Minnesota Vikings Now. I am Tom Downey here with some post-game reaction recap and some news and rumors as well, specifically around some significant potential injuries sustained by key Vikings players. First, as I'm sure so many of you know, Minnesota comes up short against San Francisco, 34-26, as the Niners ran all over Minnesota. Elijah Mitchell and Deebo Samuel, part of a ground game that went for over 200 yards against Minnesota. They controlled the clock, and a 20-point third quarter was pretty much all San Francisco needed in this one. The Vikings offense did put up 26 points, but the other stats don't look that great. Adam Thielen had a nice game. Dalvin Cook, his injury we'll get to here in just a little bit, as Kirk Cousins simply did not have his best stuff. Now, Minnesota is still firmly in that playoff picture, and if you're still a fan of Minnesota, I want you guys to like this video. If you're not bailing on the bandwagon quite yet, do me a favor and like this video right now if you still believe in Minnesota. Now, this is what the NFC playoff picture looks like at the current moment, as things are not going well at the exact opportunity for Minnesota. They are now number 7 seed in the wild card race. At least for now, they are 5-6. That game against San Francisco could end up proving rather pivotal in terms of tiebreakers and whatnot. Minnesota's not going to win the NFC North. That is Green Bay. That's just not going to happen for the Vikings. But if they can get to 10 wins or even maybe 9 wins, that might be enough when you look at the Falcons and Saints and Panthers and Eagles. Those teams aren't that good. So Minnesota is still very much alive in the playoff picture. Here's their upcoming schedule. At the Lions in Week 13. That's a must-win game, of course. Versus the Steelers in Week 14. They got boat raced by the Bengals. At the Bears in Week 15. A tough little 2-game stretch here. Week 16 against the Rams. Week 17 at the Packers. And Week 18 against the Bears. Now, of those 6 games left, you would think there's probably 4 fairly safe wins. Is that enough? Is a 9-win Vikings team going to get in the playoffs? That's just taking care of their business to an extent. I'm not sure at this point. It's going to be close, and if you can steal them from Packers or Rams, that makes things easier. That's why this game was so critical, because had they won, they would have been in really good shape. But they're still firmly alive. In fact, you could probably call them a betting favorite to make the playoffs. So what do you think? Will Minnesota make the playoffs this year? Type in Y for yes, they will, N for no, they will not. Let's go to Dalvin Cook, the big story here for Minnesota. Cook suffered what I looked like a chest, pec injury, something along those lines, when he fumbled late in the third quarter, was carted off. Cook looked to be very upset on that cart, did not look right, did not look comfortable. It's a concerning injury for Minnesota. Cook is undergoing an MRI to determine the severity of that particular injury. Don't know how likely it is he's able to be out there. So we'll see about Dalvin Cook. Alexander Mattison will be the next man up, but this is a pretty big red flag for Minnesota. So what is your concern level right now over Dalvin Cook's injury? This is the number 1 story coming out of the game, so I'm going to get the pinned comment today as well. If you get the ad break here on YouTube, head down and be honest for me. Scale it 1 to 10. 1 being not worried at all, 10 being you're freaking out right now. More injury news here for Minnesota. Anthony Barr injured his hamstring against the 49ers. Now, that one didn't look as bad as the Dalvin Cook injury. Barr was ruled questionable to return to the game. I don't believe he did down the stretch. He also had a knee injury, by the way, earlier this year. Hopefully it is a minor hamstring injury. We'll see if he's out there against the Lions. There will be some recovery time. We'll know more about Barr later on in the week. Same is true, by the way, for Christian Darrisaw. Darrisaw was hurt in the fourth quarter of the Vikings game. He was blocking to the left side. I think it was a guard or a Niners player, kind of rolled up on accident, of course, behind Darrisaw. He went down. He was able to walk off the field with a rather slight limp, but a limp nonetheless. I've seen some nice promise from Darrisaw as the team's future left tackle, but if he's out, I don't want to go back to that depth chart. It's not a great grouping there at left tackle. I want Darrisaw out there. If he's hurt for an extended period of time, that's bad for the Vikings. We'll update you guys throughout the week on various Vikings injury news right here on Minnesota Vikings Now. So subscribe today for free for all the videos you could ever need on your favorite team, the Minnesota Vikings. Hit that big red button right now. Let's talk about the game now, beyond just the injury news, because that took up a lot of the time, as it should. Offensively, the Vikings' attack was interesting. They did not run the ball very effectively, and for the first half, by the way, Kirk Cousins threw the ball to just 3 different receivers. Now, he finished the game with throws to 7, completed 7 passes to 7 different players, but Cousins, I don't think fared very well. Of the 256 yards the team had, remember that 238 of those were from Cousins, thanks to the Justin Jefferson trick play. Cousins had some, let's call them Kirk Cousins moments, right? He missed some throws that he really needed to make. That's been the issue for Kirk Cousins in his time in Minnesota. There was the fourth down miss that was preceded, that's what I'm looking for, when Kirk Cousins lined up under center, but over the guard. And Minnesota called a timeout. One of the most laughably, if you're not a Vikings fan, hilarious moments in recent NFL memory. You lined up under the wrong part of the offensive line. Cousins wasn't good enough. And you could make an argument that he actually outplayed Jimmy Garoppolo. The difference is, one team ran for 208, the other ran for 67. You need Kirk Cousins to play a little bit better than what he did today. Although I think the run defense is the biggest reason why Minnesota lost. The 2 top receivers, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson. Thielen, again, 2 touchdowns. He's been kind of a touchdown machine. There were moments, by the way, in this game in which Justin Jefferson didn't look like the happiest camper out there. A couple missed opportunities from Cousins. He was targeted 9 times, pulled in 1 less reception, though. Had more yards than Thielen, but missed some opportunities inside the end zone. So I want you guys to grade the Vikings offense overall against the 49ers. I don't think it was the biggest reason why they lost, but I think it was a reason. I'm about to give mine grade, but I want to hear from you first. A, B, C, D, or F. For me, the Vikings get a C or so, somewhere in that area. I thought that they played about average enough to win some games. It's tough to win football games. Another team runs for 208, unless you're the Patriots in Tennessee for whatever reason today. But you needed more out of the Vikings offense, I think, in this matchup. But like I mentioned, defensively is the number one reason why Minnesota lost. They allowed only 215 passing yards, 230 from Garoppolo, minus 15 sacks. That's how that stat is always tracked. But 208 yards on the ground. They allowed Jimmy G to convert some fairly clutch third down opportunities as well. I don't think Jimmy G played great in this game, but he played good enough to win with what the Niners are currently able to do on offense. Since past couple weeks, the Niners kind of adjusted their scheme, right? They've been using running back Deebo Samuel heavily in that mold. And Elijah Mitchell, 27 carries for 133 yards. That was a disappointing run effort from the Vikings defense, which has simply not been that good against the run this season. Maybe the one bright spot on defense, or one of the bright spots on defense, was the play of Harrison Smith, who had missed some time due to COVID earlier this year. 11 tackles, 6 of them solo, by the way. A key interception, 2 more pass breakups. He remains one of the better safeties in the NFL. And you can make an argument that Smith was your MVP this week. But since Minnesota lost, I want to know this. Who was your LVP? Your least valuable player for Minnesota? Maybe it is one of those interior defensive linemen. Not sure. Let me know what you think in the comments section. All right, Kene Nwangwu, I believe that's how it's pronounced. Not, I'm terribly sorry. Nwangwu had the special teams touchdown for Minnesota. Will help make that number look a little bit better in the end. The 100-yard, I can't remember which one it was, kick return touchdown. Big deal for Minnesota. I thought it was going to get them back in the game. It didn't quite pull it off in the end. One other minor bright spot on the defense side of the ball was the play of DJ Onwenu, who had a sack against the 49ers. Remember, there's no Danielle Hunter. Everson Griffin is going through his own personal stuff right now. All of a sudden, DJ Onwenu is suddenly this team's number one defensive lineman. And given his limited sack production for his career, getting one against San Francisco is at least a positive side moving forward. We mentioned Elijah Mitchell and Deebo Samuel. Man, they ran all over Minnesota. We have seen the Niners implement the Deebo Samuel gets the handoff play a lot, lined up in the backfield. And there's really been no answer for it at this point. So whether it's Samuel, Mitchell, or heck, Jeff Wilson had a couple runs. Brandon Ayuk, I think, had one as well. The Vikings' run defense is a massive, massive problem. If that is not correct, if that is not fixed, they will not make the playoffs this season.